maybe this is a hot take, but I don't think the oversharing is bad. And I'm about to tell you why. And it's going to be fun. Okay, so buckle up, get comfy. I'm with my blanket, I got my pillow here. It's going to be a fun time. Life is full of this nonchalant, kind of need to be mysterious, closed off vibes and people. And I honestly am so over it. I'm so over it. It kind of, especially for women, it just reinforces the idea of we are not enough and simultaneously too much. I did mention this, I think, in a previous video. Obviously, you don't want to, start off with a trauma dump when you introduce yourself to people. I'm not trying to endorse that, okay? I'm not trying to say you should tell people your life story immediately when you meet them, but I think it should happen quicker than kind of what the media and what society is telling us. I guess first, in order to talk about when I think oversharing is it's not even oversharing. When I think telling your life kind of story to people or things that are a little bit of more of an emotional load is okay, and when it's bad. So let's just start off about when I think oversharing is bad. I already mentioned the first meeting, but aside from that, when you use it to fill silence, and that's the only reason why you're using it, okay? The other day, I was in class and it was a group project thing, and it was really awkward, and just awkward conversations, I like to fill them with a trauma dump. That is not necessarily good, especially afterwards, after I shared those kind of things. I was like, man, I wish I wouldn't have said those things, and I resented it afterwards. I feel if you feel comfortable just sharing, then I generally think it's fine. But if you regret it afterwards, that's kind of a sign that you actually did overshare. Another time when oversharing is bad is when the person's clearly dismissing you. You're trying to open up to them, and they're not taking it. At that point, it's not even... Okay, here's the thing. It's not even an oversharing problem at that point, though. If you're, feeling comfortable to open up to a person, and they're dismissing you, that's a them problem. You know what I'm saying? And maybe you need better friends if they're dismissing you. Maybe that's what the sign is. You need better friends. Not necessarily that you overshared. Okay? But, otherwise, I think telling people about your life and the things you're struggling with is something that we need to normalize more in society. We need to be more okay with vulnerability and being vulnerable. And then also, if we're okay with being vulnerable, then we also open up space for other people to be vulnerable with us, and then we can have actual true connection instead of these surface level friendships and relationships that drag on for forever because nobody is freaking willing to ask hard questions and be or say man, I'm feeling really anxious today, simple things like that. People aren't okay with that. And so kind of one of my criteria to finding a friend is I need to find safe people, okay? And if I can't open up to you, if I can't tell you my issues, I can't have space for that. I need people who can hold space for my emotions. I keep saying holding space, and it really just makes me think of Wicked and the whole trend with holding space, and it's kind of giving me the ick, so I should really stop saying that. Okay. Also, we learn from other people when we're talking about our issues, and we kind of get people's input. Okay? We need people to bounce back ideas off of, and people to rant to. Literally last night, me and my roommate had the most amazing conversation about how both of us are super anxious about everything, and it was so validating for the both of us because we were both wow, we are not the only ones that are anxious, I'm not the only one that is anxious, and she's not the only one that's anxious, and we kind of were talking about it, and we were able to be hey, this is something that I do that I feel like kind of helps. And, bouncing ideas off of each other. And it was validating and really refreshing. We need more of this, okay? I feel like also, it's kind of getting dark. I'm sorry, the lighting is terrible. We need to not be so embarrassed about the things that we're struggling with, okay? We need to talk about these kind of things. When I was growing up, I was like deeply embarrassed, and it kind of goes back to like shame, which I'm struggling with right now, about like my issues, and I was so afraid to bring them up to people and talk about them. But also, if you're embarrassed about your own issues, then how are you gonna... I can't say that. I can't say hold space. How are you going to create a safe space for people to open up to you? If they're sensing that you're closed off to your own emotions, they're not gonna be able to be their true authentic self towards you, and then you're both gonna end up being fake, and it's gonna suck. Okay? Now, this doesn't mean that you're always going to want to be vulnerable with people, and you're going to want to tell even the people that you're close with, like, open up to them. You're not going to always want to do that, but I feel like there comes a point where it's necessary to just do it anyways. And in my life, I find that when I do it anyways, it's very rewarding, and I end up connecting with that person on a deeper, more emotional level. Anyways, that's a wrap. Pretty much just open up to the people in your life, and don't be like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be an oversharer, because you're probably not even oversharing. You're just wanting emotional connection, and we live in a life that's so mysterious and closed off and nonchalant that you're like, oh, but what if they are uncomfortable? If they're uncomfortable, that's not your freaking problem. Unless you're the weirdo that introduces yourself with all your problems. Pretty much I need to go inside because it's getting dark, and I've recorded 3 episodes today, and my voice hurts, and bye, yeah, so